Welcome to Serious About Rugby League. Today on the agenda we're going to be talking about the team on everyone's lips at the moment, which is London Broncos now. I think it's been mentioned around numerous social media sites this week that a lot of people predicted them not to win a game this season, and we're 18 games in and they've won 6 and they're in a very good position to try and stay up now. The joint they're still at the bottom, but they're joint bottom with Leeds and Hull KR, and they play Hull KR this Thursday, and if they win that then people will really start to worry. Now I'll come to you first on this, Paul, because it's a bit of a crazy one really, because they won 3 games earlier in the season and they went on a big losing run, and then out of nowhere they've beaten St Helens and Catalans away. Now, firstly, did you see that coming, and how many wins do you see them getting?
I didn't see it coming, no. I think St Helens already arrested a couple of players, but I mean, it's still a strong side that went down there. They were caught with their pants down, really, weren't they? But I think the Catalans, I think probably the Catalans game was probably even more of a shock than the St Helens one, if I'm honest. I think we all thought Catalans would turn it back on, going all the way over to France. But I mean, that was a tremendous performance. I think we've all had to revise our predictions of London this year. I think we've mentioned on another thread that obviously they seem to be getting to turn the home pitch into a little bit of a fortress. The record there isn't bad at all. Obviously it's an artificial pitch which a lot of players don't like playing on. I think the likes of Lomax, Tompkins have usually been rested when their teams have gone down there. So they've definitely got an advantage there. So I think where we have underestimated them, I think it's definitely the home form. For all, the biggest shock was that Catalans. I think you mentioned you thought they could win that. I never give them a hope in hell, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, would you agree with that, Sean? Do you think the home form can keep them up?
I think you've got to believe it can, especially if they win this weekend. I think this Thursday night is going to be the biggest game of the season so far, in so many different ways. Maybe not from obviously like a fan's perspective or a attendance perspective, but from every single neutral in the country, I've got interest in this game because it means so much more than just a Super League fixture between Hull KR and London. It's sort of a future of rugby league.
Yeah.
It's hanging in the balance, and unfortunately from Hull KR point of view, you're going to be the ones in the shadows in the fact that Hull KR are going to want Hull KR to win, but everybody else is going to want London to win. We've got written down, would it be the Super League's greatest ever achievement? I would argue not, but it would be Rugby League's greatest achievement. Not in terms of the best Rugby League achievement by a team, but in terms of a win for the game, the game going forward, and how Rugby League can develop from a London team that have not only managed to get themselves back into the Super League, but have managed to, not by election or anything, just got themselves into a Super League and then kept themselves in the Super League.
Yeah.
It's a massive win for the game, and you've got to hope from a neutral point of view that happens, and it's not beyond the realms of possibility. And the beauty of it is that this London team is made up so much of the team that got them into the Super League in the first place. It's not like they've chopped and changed and bought loads of players. They brought in players that were essential to fill voids in the team. Players like Ryan Morgan, who had a fantastic game against his parent club against St Helens. But the bulk of the team is the championship team that came up, and there's that spirit there, and they want to win. The same spirit that took them to Toronto and got them the win in the playoffs last season, in the £1 million game. Is that same belief still there in the Super League and the beating teams?
Well, the man behind all this is Danny Ward. Now, when he took over at London from Andrew Henderson had, many people thought he was overachieving at London by finishing 4th, and then when Ward came in, everybody predicted him to fall. I think Gary Schofield predicted them to finish in the bottom 2 or 3 places, and incredibly they finished 2nd. They went into the middle 8s. They won the £1 million game.
They had that massive victory that people forget against Widnes early doors in the middle 8s.
Yeah.
That set sort of the tone. Jared Sammett's drop goal winning in the game, and that sort of set the tone for London. And it was from there that you thought, oh, London might actually do something special here.
Yeah. Well, I think people thought that was the limit, didn't they? When they got to the middle eight, people thought, well, that's. I think we've seen Halifax get there a few times, and that's almost been their limit. And London got there, and people thought, well, that's London's limit now. They've achieved the goal for the season. They'll kind of just they'll put up a bit of a fight, but they're not going to beat the Super League teams. And they proved everyone wrong, and then they went to Toronto, proved everyone wrong again. They've come up, then everyone's like, well, it's definitely their limit now. But as Sean touched on, 13 of the players that featured against Catalans on Saturday have actually played in the Championship last season, 10 of which were London players. Now, this is the point I wanted to get on to, Paul, because people are saying the gap between the Championship and Super League is massive, and London was supposed to come up and be the whipping boys. Now that's not happened, so is that gap actually closing?
I think probably the top of the Championship, the very top, and the bottom of Super League. I would imagine the gap's massive. Obviously, go higher up Super League. I think we'll unfortunately probably see that when Halifax play St Helens in the Cup semi-final. I think we'll probably see how big the gap is between the top end of Super League, obviously. But I mean, we had two teams play a Cup quarter-final from the Championship. Bradford beat Leeds in the Cup. So I think the gap's definitely getting smaller. They had that incredible win at Toronto last year. I don't think anyone really predicted that they'd go to Toronto and win it in the playoffs. They've been proving people wrong. I think the big shame for me on Thursday is going to be that the lack of attendance at the game. I think massive for Super League to have a team in London. I think that the marketing for Super League has been a lot better, especially in the national media. I think a lot of that's to do with the fact that we have a team. We shouldn't need a team in London to get national paper coverage. I think history shows that we do. I just think that it's a shame that they're not, because they're odds on to be relegated even now, just odds on to be relegated. They can't really develop the club more, get a proper home. But that's probably going to be the big shame for me on Thursday.
Yeah, well, you just touched on the odds there. London still odds on to be relegated at 8 to 11, but it's a lot closer now with Hull KR at 9 to 4. Leeds at 6 to 1. Huddersfield perhaps getting dragged into it at 13 to 2, and then Wakefield, Salford, Wigan are in the running, but their odds have drifted out now as they've started to pick up a little bit of form. Now, Sean, I think it's only fitting that we probably end this chat by talking about Danny Ward. I touched on all the things he's achieved there.
Yeah.
I seen somebody mention actually earlier this week, if London lost every game from now to the rest of the season 50-0, he would still be the coach of the year. Is he the coach of the year for you?
It's interesting with teams that are coming up from the Championship. There's a lot of great coaches, and you touched on Halifax, and I think the gap between the Super League and the Championship is next to none. I don't think people realise that when it comes to Halifax St Helens, you've got to look at Halifax being a mid-table club. They're not a top-end Championship team anymore, they're a mid-table Championship team. So that will reflect, but it'll reflect something different than what people expect it to reflect. And when you talk about coaches, you look at people like Marshall from Halifax, who has took that team that are a mid-table Championship to the top of the Championship. But Danny Ward has taken this team that, realistically, when they went into that season, were a top 4 contender, because they were a strong team on paper, and they should have been pushing. And Danny Ward's took them. And just like Marshall took Halifax from sort of middle to bottom of the Championship up to the top of the Championship, there's no reason why Danny Ward can't push this London team to be a top Championship club into a middle table Super League club. There's no reason whatsoever. Coach of the year, it depends how close they get. For me, yes. I feel like they could still go down. If it's within 2 points, he gets Coach of the Year. If they stay up, without a doubt, he gets Coach of the Year. It's not even a contest.
Yeah, and just lastly, I just want to touch on a point you made there. We're talking about the closeness now. If it had actually been Toronto come up and not London, what position do you think they would be in?
I don't think they would have been outstanding. A lot of people think they would have challenged for the top 5. I don't think that's the case. I think they would have been similar to a Wakefield about now. Wakefield, right. Huddersfield. I think they'd have been safe. They won't have been in the relegation battle, but they won't have been pushing. There's a lot of players at Toronto have a lot of Super League experience, and there's no denying that. But we've seen with Toronto in Challenge Cups in the past where they've got into big games and they've lost the cool, and you have to do that week in, week out in the Super League. I don't think they'll be able to do it week in, week out. It all depends on recruitment, and obviously they've got the availability to recruit. I'd be more interested to see a team like Featherstone come into the league for the first time and what changes they would make, even if Lee came back, sort of thing. But I think at the minute, or even Toulouse, that would be a very interesting battle, especially for the Catalans-Toulouse rivalry. It'd be a very interesting battle. But I think Toronto, for the first couple of seasons in Super League, would probably just be a mid-table club.
Yeah.
Well, on that with Toronto, I think another feather in Danny Ward's cap is, I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think we were all saying with Leeds and Wigan struggling that they're lucky that Toronto didn't win the grand final last year, because I think everyone's expecting that Toronto would have done a lot better. Now, I think the kind of way London have progressed since then, but let's not forget they were very unlucky at Magic Weekend against Leeds as well, the game before these two. I think I think you get to a stage where they've probably got the kind of points level that Toronto. I'm not so sure Toronto would have done much better, because they have got the recruitment, but there's a certain level. Bear in mind the logistics of playing for Toronto. I'm going to go over. I think they've got to spend about 16 weeks a year in Toronto, pretty much most of the summer. The highest standard calibre of Super League player, I wouldn't imagine has the need to do that at this stage in their career. I think they're still going to be getting the guys who like to Wilkin at the end of the career, even in Super League. I'm not sure they'd move on to that next level.
But with a squad like John Wilkins, Ashton Sims being another major player that's played in the NRL and at the top of the Super League, I couldn't see them. I mean, this is probably taken away from London slightly, because London have been fantastic this season, but if you're going to ask me to compare Eddie Batty to Ashton Sims, then there's no comparison.
It's a bit unfair, yeah.
So it's all ifs and buts, because we don't know, and we won't know until Toronto come up.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's and obviously on the coach of the year you're mentioning. For me, I mean, if St Helens go and win the treble, I think it's going to be it could be hard to ignore just in Aldbrook, and I think that that's where the awards tend to go. But you have to be honest. Even if Saints did win the double or the treble, if London were to stay up, that would definitely be on a par with that. If Saints were just to win one trophy, London were to stay up, I would definitely say Danny Ward would be the man. But like I say, it would be hard to ignore the proper double or the treble for Saints. But if they went down, I can't. I think you say he's done a tremendous job. I think you'd have to look at maybe who'd won the league or won a double. But if he keeps them up, I mean that's the kind of the magnitude of what he's doing there. I think that would be on a par with anything that St Helens could do this year.
In a word, do London stay up?
Unfortunately, no.
If you'd have asked me 2 weeks ago and I said no, I'm going to say yeah. I think they can do it.
Interesting. Guys, do you think London will stay up? And if they did stay up, would it be the greatest achievement in Super League history? Is Danny Ward your coach of the year? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell.